Hey guys, title for this video today is Don't Ask Why. Now, what does that mean? If you're working with clients or kids, or if you're in business and you're dealing with employees, a lot of times somebody will mess up, or we'll mess up, and we ask the question, why? Why did I do that? Why did you do that? Why? What's going on? And I hear a lot of coaches, in my business saying, why? What's driving you? What's your motivation? They say to me, people say, "Oh, are you a motivational speaker?" I say, "No, everybody's motivated already." The question's, what's motivating you? Somebody wants to eat or sleep in, or if they're not taking action, they say they want this, but they're not doing the actions that would support those results. There's no legs underneath of it, and they know that consciously. I mean, we're conscious of what we do. So the question isn't to say why, because the mind always wants to beat ourselves up, always wants to get negative. So the question to ask yourself or others is how? How do you do that? If you say, well, Eli, I'm depressed, and say, why are you depressed? Then people get into their story. Um, so stories, they'll start telling you about what happened, and they get that emotion. They focus on this, and well, this happened, and then they go into this big thing, and it's an endless loop. There's no resolution. It just creates this story that people get into their stuff. And so behind everything that we get, behind every result that we get, from your bank account to your body to your relationships, everything that you have or don't have in your life, we need to realize that there's a strategy behind it. There's a strategy that's driving that behavior or that result. So you wouldn't say, why don't you have this? Or why are you doing this? How do you do this? Say, well, I'm depressed. I'm curious. How do you get depressed? How? What's the strategy? You say, excuse me? What do you mean? Well, if I was going to get depressed, if I was going to get really down on myself, what would I have to do? Well, you'd have to focus on the past. And oftentimes people feel disempowered when they go into the past because you can't control the past. That's gone. We think that we keep on focusing on the past, thinking that we can change it. That's never going to happen. It's like you want to find out if somebody feels good about their life. You can talk to somebody, and if they're constantly talking about things that are out of their control, we can't control the weather, we can't control the past, we can't control the government to a large degree. We can't control a lot of things in our life, but if we're consistently focused on what we can't control, it's no wonder that somebody might feel disempowered. So I say, well, how do you do that? How do you feel depressed? How do you feel disempowered? Well, they have to focus on something that they can't control, that they can't change, that a problem in their life that they feel is permanent or pervasive, something that is out of their control so they feel completely powerless. Well, yeah, that would make me feel pretty depressed as well. So what are you focused on? So if I was to get really depressed, how would I have to focus my mind? Well, I have to focus on what's not available, about what somebody did, about what somebody said. I'd have to focus on what it cost me. I'd have to maybe start talking to myself really negatively, maybe start breathing really shallow. Okay, so there's a strategy behind depression. Well, it's if I'm broke, well, how do you do that? Well, I have to go out on the weekend and spend all my money on things that aren't assets but liabilities. I have to sleep in. I have to stay up late, spend all my time on the internet, waste lots of times, add no value to the world, and really be all about myself instead of about what I can contribute. So I won't want to make this video too long, but I just want you to realize that no matter what it is that you have in your life that's not showing up to its full potential, realize there's a strategy behind that. And if you want to get to the next level, you're going to need a new strategy. And I'll talk about this in another video. Tony Robbins talks about this. He talks about what really determines the quality of our life is the quality of our communication. And so what's underneath communication are strategy. You need to have an effective strategy for your body, for your relationships, for your business, for your finances. You need to have a strategy. You need to have a story. We all have a story. And one of the most accurate words in the English dictionary is history. It's his story, or you could say her story, his story. So a lot of times what determines our success in life is a story that we keep on telling ourselves. And Tony often says the only thing that stops us from having everything that we want is the story that we tell ourselves about why it's not there. So story, strategy, story, and state, how you feel. How you show up in your life on a day where you feel empowered, the state of mind, the emotion that you're feeling, it will massively determine the decisions that you make, what you're willing to do or not do, who you're willing to introduce yourself to, how you're willing to introduce yourself. So the state of mind and emotion, you're focused, you're feeling, your breathing patterns, your state that you're in will largely affect the way that you show up in your life. But we'll talk about that on another video. Until then, talk to you next time. Bye-bye.